Hello everyone, and welcome to Galaxy 89 Cars. Now you join me on a very warm third day of the 2019 Goodwood Festival of Speed. As you've probably seen from the title of the video, I'm bringing you a bit of a difference today. Unfortunately, I'm not going up with the thing that you can see behind me. However, before we get into the video itself, let me remind you of some of the key features of the Portofino. The Ferrari Portofino, named after one of the most beautiful Italian seaside towns along the Riviera, is the latest Ferrari GT and takes over from the California. It aims to bring a more dynamic package, both in terms of aesthetic and driving style, and heighten usability thanks to new technological improvements inside and out. Part of its new dynamism is found due to the significant weight loss in comparison to the California, from 1745 kilograms to 1664 kilograms. Finished here in Bianco Avis, the Portofino is powered by a front mid-mounted 3.9-litre twin-turbo V8 that produces 591 brake horsepower and 760 Nm of torque, up 39 brake horsepower and 5 Nm over its predecessor. This output produces a 0 to 62 mph or 100 km/h time of 3.5 seconds and a top speed of greater than 198 mph or 320 km/h, which represents an increase of 1/10 to 62 and at least 2 mph in top speed. This car is sitting on the optional front and rear 20-inch forged diamond polish wheels, one of 6 options. Braking comes from carbon ceramics as standard, 390mm at the front and 360mm at the rear. Moving inside, we don't find an interior that is totally removed from the California T, but rather a more refined and minimalised version. Here we find the optional diamond stitch seats with white piping, with the interior finished in what I believe to be blue sterling. For the hill run itself, we decided to run the car in the way it's supposed to be driven in good weather, with the roof down. This is meant to be a class-leading mechanism of around 14 seconds, but I counted a little longer. After getting a quick briefing, it was then time to jump into the car, where we find my helmet, and prepare to leave the paddock. If we take a quick look around the interior, we find the optional passenger's display ahead that can show speed, revs, gear, geometer and infotainment information. Centrally, we come to the new 10.2-inch touchscreen for the infotainment system, with climate, drive mode, roof controls, and the cup holder, central storage area and rear seats, which are of course the 2+2 style seats, as this is a Ferrari GT. The day was very warm and the marquees in the paddock were even warmer, so I was very glad to be able to use the easily adjustable aircon. Just before setting off, my driver Ray wanted to give a quick intro to setting the Portofino up for paddle shift driving.
When we start the car up, the first thing that happens is automatically in park mode. It's got the auto button on, so it'll always be in auto until you knock that off. So if you look down here, you can see that there's an auto button. So if I press that, now we can use the paddle shift. If you're not used to driving on paddle shift, the easiest way to remember is if your foot's on the right hand side pedal, you're going to use it, and you're on the accelerator, you're always going to use the right side. When your foot goes onto the brake, you're always going to use the left side. So it's the easiest way to remember how to use paddle shift.
Shortly after, drivers and passengers took to their cars, and spectators were asked to move to the side as the cars were finally allowed to move out.
You get all the best jobs, don't you?
The weather is already incredibly hot, but of course for safety I've got to wear a helmet. Ferrari helmet, so I'm not exactly complaining. And I've got to wear a balaclava, nice fresh one in here. It's probably mid-20s, but I've been out filming all day, so it's going to be really, really hot. I'll give you a little bit update a bit later. As all the cars had reached the holding area and the crowds had started to grow, I thought I'd kill some time by going through the Ferrari hill climb convoy. We start with this 488 Pista, which I think is a gorgeous car with such an aggressive rear end. We then come to the V12 insanity of the F12 successor, the 812 Superfast. Then a car I filmed an in-depth tour of at the start of the year, the successor to the FF, the GTC4 Lusso, here in V12 configuration I believe. Then my Portofino. The Ferraris we've seen up until this point are very nice, but now we come to the really special cars, starting with the one of one, not counting the SP1, V12 SP2. It comes with the usual wing mirrors on either side and a centrally mounted rearview mirror. It also has very distinct driver and passenger zones and is, of course, made and finished in carbon fibre. Behind this is a bespoke customer project, the SP3JC, that's based on an F12 TDF, but with less aggressive and more flowing exterior styling. We can't forget the visible, front-mounted V12 that produces 770 brake horsepower. Continuing back, we find another one-off customer bespoke project, the P80/C. Based on the 488 GT3, the track-only P80C is a modern interpretation of classic Ferrari race cars, and comes with a huge front spoiler and rear wing, and a central T-wing that makes it 5% more efficient than the GT3 it's based on. The final car in the lineup is this Fxxk Evo. This insane creation is based fundamentally on LaFerrari, but is more closely related to LaFerrari's track-only variant, the Fxxk. The Evo is all about downforce, producing 75% more than LaFerrari, and 23% more than the Fxxk, 830 kilograms at max. It was then finally time to head to the track, and being Ferrari, we got to go first. How easy is it to power slide this? With because it's obviously a turbocharged engine, isn't it?
Yeah, if you turn all the traction off, it's not too bad once we turn it all off.
So we've just come onto the main straight, onto the start line, or close to it. Done the famous part just before where everyone turns around and does sort of burnouts and power slides and things. I'm here with my driver Ray, and I just thought I would get him to kind of introduce himself a little bit.
Hello everybody.
So if you could just tell me a little bit about your history in performance cars and.
I started in karting like everybody does when I was at an early age, but as everybody is, nobody's got any money, so you can race when you can. And I had a very lucky break in 1987 when I was racing karts, and I ran out of money, and David Coulthard was a junior kart racer at the time, and his father was a really nice guy, and David told him that I'd run out of money, and I was leading the British champs, so his father went and was racing for the rest of the season. The team I was with then bought a race car, and then they wanted to me to go racing. I won 5 out of 6 races, and then we just moved on from there and moved through everything, GT cars, saloon cars, everything.
Wow, that's very good. Okay, so we're probably about, how long do you think, 5-10 minutes away?
5 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes. I've got to get all my balaclava and my helmet on, and then we'll be on our way. After finishing the hill climb in under a minute, we then had to wait around at the top for the remaining cars to complete their runs so we could drive back down. Being surrounded by not just Ferrari, but all the astonishing super and hypercars at the top was an incredible experience. I've just finished the run and what an absolutely amazing experience. Of course, a couple of years ago I drove up the hill climb in a Fiat Abarth 124 Spider, which was, it was a new experience, it was equally enjoyable, but this was something else. Being next to a basically professional racing driver was insane. Anyway, I just want to say a huge thank you to Ferrari UK and just Ferrari generally for the experience. Hopefully not once in a lifetime, but it could also be, it's that kind of nature of the experience. So anyway, please subscribe for the latest content.